In a near future ravaged by pollution, deadly new plagues emerge. The most terrifying of all, the GH mutation, a curse that transforms victims into mindless, bloodthirsty monsters upon infection. These beasts crave human flesh. Yet, fate provided a counterforce against these demonic genes, the super gene. Once awakened, it grants humans godlike powers that defy all natural laws. Our protagonist, Tin-Ton, unfortunately became the alpha monster, leading thousands to slaughter humanity. In that final, apocalyptic clash, he personally ended the life of the woman he loved most. A flicker of humanity returned, but she was already gone. Consumed by grief and self-loathing, his blood boiled. In a berserker rage, he began massacring his own monster kin with madness. Mid-slaughter, the world shifted. He suddenly awoke in a lavish hotel room, screaming her name. Gasping for air, he realized the battlefield was gone. Was this a dream or reality? A nearby receipt revealed the date. June 15th, 2025, 10 years before the end. He sat in shock. Tomorrow was the fateful day of the mandatory national DNA screenings. The day the world identified the infected and the supers. The day his nightmare truly began. Back then, he was branded a monster and tracked like an animal, despised by all society. As he panicked, a woman's voice echoed from the bathroom. "Honey, bring me a towel, please." Tin-Ton froze. Turning around, he saw a girl through the steam, her figure absolutely breathtaking. Just as things got heated, his phone buzzed with a notification, a message from his past. It was the girl he loved before regressing, mocking his 18th birthday hotel visit in class. She teased that the whole school knew a big sister took him there for a lesson. Seeing her 18-year-old face again made him smile, a second chance to love her truly, but his heart sank. He knew the monster gene inside him was an unchangeable destiny. He swore an oath. In this life, he would never let the monsters win again. He had 1 year before the beast fully took over. His eyes burned with lethal resolve. Tin-Ton decided to hunt down the monsters that once controlled him and eliminate them all. As his fighting spirit peaked, a terrifying change occurred. Sinister blue veins bulged on his arm. Panic set in. Within seconds, his left arm transformed into a hideous, grotesque demonic claw. The demonic blood threatened to consume him. The monster was awakening a year too early. The girl stepped out, wondering why the towel was late. Tin-Ton trembled in the shadows. Why was the transformation happening now? If she saw this, their future would be destroyed instantly. Tin-Ton gritted his teeth, using every ounce of willpower to suppress the demonic surge within. The beast was still weak. His iron resolve crushed the darkness, forcing the claw to recede. His body returned to normal just as she approached, curious about his sudden, eerie silence. Though she was tempting, he feared the monster might wake mid-passion and kill her instantly. He grabbed his jacket and bolted out the door, only to find several beauties waiting outside. They wanted his favors. A pink-haired girl commanded the others to surround our fleeing hero. He was tempted, but the beast inside was a ticking time bomb. He had to escape. Breaking through the circle, Tin-Ton vanished into the night, leaving the stunned girls behind. He breathed a sigh of relief. In his past life, everyone abandoned him, except for one. Only Chi-Nu stayed by his side when the world labeled him a monster. Only her. Speak of the devil. He ran right into Chi-Nu, waiting outside a nearby restaurant. Looking innocent as ever, she held a gift box. Her eyes sparkled with hidden mischief. She teased him immediately. "Only 5 minutes? You're quite the sprinter in bed, aren't you?" She handed him a bottle of medicine, a sarcastic cure for his playboy habits and short stamina. Seeing his soulmate's face, Tin-Ton's eyes welled up. He reached out to touch her cheek. He vowed to cherish Chi-Nu in this life, protecting her from every shadow and pain. Her beloved seemed unusually tender today. But as he leaned in to kiss her, the beast within suddenly awakened. It craved her flesh, but his heart refused. Tin-Ton suppressed the hunger. Chi-Nu stood dazed, her romantic moment ruined. The demon inside was starving. He wanted her love, but not his food. For her safety, he fled, vanishing into the night before losing control. Stopping near a store, he remembered. Only 5% of humans carry monster genes. Society remains stable because only those genes transform. The infected are the true threat. Clad in red, he merged with the crowd. A predator hiding in plain sight among sheep. While searching for prey, the mall erupted. A cinema nearby was suddenly engulfed in flames. Panic struck as monsters emerged. They were hunting, turning the mall into a buffet. Knowing his royal blood protected him, Tin-Ton walked calmly toward the hellish carnage. A coward fled in sheer terror. He saw Tin-Ton walking toward certain death. The coward tried to use him as bait, pushing Tinton toward the beast to escape, but the monster sensed a superior predator. It ignored Tinton and chased the coward. Tinton smirked at the fool's karma. You chose the wrong person to play with. The man's screams echoed through the mall. Monsters surrounded Tinton, yet dared not attack. Amidst the slaughter, Tinton's beast feasted, absorbing the essence of death to satiate itself. He needed it quiet for Chinu. The monsters formed a wall, blocking all interference. Recognizing the king of demons, they guarded the entrance as he stepped inside. Tinton entered to enjoy the feast. Inside, a desperate struggle for survival was unfolding. An awakened named 𝒚𝒂𝒂 fought alone. As an apprentice, he struggled to protect everyone. While shielding civilians, he paid dearly. A monster's claw claimed his arm in an instant. Seeing him crippled, the beasts closed in. 𝒚𝒂𝒂 prepared a final, suicidal trump card. He unleashed his ultimate technique. Iron lightning. Beams of light sliced through the monster ranks. Limbs flew as the energy tore them apart. But the sheer numbers were too overwhelming. With only one arm, his strength faded. Despair took hold as the demons lunged again. 𝒚𝒂𝒂 closed his eyes, accepting death. Suddenly, Tinton appeared like a thunderbolt. A single, earth-shattering punch saved him. 𝒚𝒂𝒂 stared in disbelief at his savior. How could a human possess such power? Shattering a monster with bare fists was impossible. Tinton kept his arm heavily bandaged. He couldn't let them see his monstrous mutation. With the dominance of a true boss, the lower-tier monsters were nothing but flies. He glanced at the hero with disdain. You're still too green to play hero, kid. Despite his injury, 𝒚𝒂𝒂 stood firm. He ordered Tinton to evacuate the civilians. The crippled hero insisted on fighting alone. Tinton sighed at the man's stubbornness. He moved faster than the eye could follow. 𝒚𝒂𝒂 barely blinked before the impact. Tinton knocked them back to clear space. Finally, he could feed his beast in peace. As he stepped forward, a giant emerged. A massive beast smashed through the wall, roaring. An unformed brat dares steal my prey? The behemoth bellowed, its killing intent filling the room. It opened its maw to swallow him. But the king of monsters didn't flinch. He stood still, testing its pathetic strength. As the claws neared, his eyes glowed. His hidden power exploded, shredding the bandages. A monstrous arm, bulging with veins, appeared. The air trembled under his dark aura. With a casual flick, the very air shattered. Half the giant's body disintegrated into dust. It stared in horror at the power gap. I'll enlighten you before you die, he whispered. He struck the beast with soul-crushing force. I was once a great lord of monsters. Your tiny brain cannot comprehend my legend, the beast wailed, begging for mercy. We are the same kind. Why devour me? Tinton ignored its pleas. He let his inner demon take control and feasted. Fresh monster meat. Simply divine, he whispered. Outside, the bloody war raged on. At the shopping mall, agents fought desperately to carve a path for the survivors. Noticing the monsters weakening, the team launched a final, crushing all-out assault. After clearing the minions, they found 𝒚𝒂𝒂. He had lost an entire arm. A friend teased him. Don't be sad. You're now a one-armed legend like Yangguo, 𝒚𝒂𝒂 cursed. With friends like you, who needs enemies? You're clearly enjoying this. He then explained that a mysterious stranger appeared, slaughtered the monsters, and vanished. In my days I saw him. He was actually eating the monster's remains. His left hand unleashed eerie blue flames. I saw his face under that hood. If I see him again, I'll know. He's a monster in human skin. The agents gasped. A human eating monsters? This was a terrifying, unprecedented anomaly. What kind of creature is he? He actually hunts and devours his own prey. If he eats monsters, why did he leave 𝒚𝒂𝒂 alive? Something is wrong. A rogue rank 2 power like this is a threat. He must be stopped. Issue an immediate arrest warrant. Meanwhile, Tinton finished his meal and discarded his cloak. He vanished into the crowd, acting as if nothing happened, his eyes cold and calm. He knew he would evolve into a high-level entity, but the speed was shocking. Evolution usually takes years, yet Tinton reached rank 2 in a few hours. After his feast, the main character returned to the home he once cherished. In his past life, this place was ruin. He arrived just after midnight. Suddenly, the power went out. The city's energy was being siphoned by a hidden force. Chinu's superhuman genes were awakening, triggering a lethal, out-of-control surge of power. Her awakening killed 136 people. The trauma left her soul and face scarred. He checked his phone. It was barely midnight. Disaster was still 4 hours away. Fearing she would repeat the tragedy, Tintone immediately called his beloved muse. Chinu heard the ring, but as she reached out, everything went wrong. Violent electricity seized her body, paralyzing her just inches from the device. She tried to scream for her parents, but her voice was completely stolen. This was the Berserk awakening. Pure, lethal voltage flooded into her young body. Under 18 and terrified of death, she struggled desperately against the overwhelming current. Chinu wept, fearing she'd die before seeing the world or finishing her dreams. Amidst her despair, a voice called from outside. Tintone leapt toward her window. He was frantic when she didn't answer. He jumped up to check her condition. Even in her agony, she wondered. Why was he here? Was he up to no good? Seeing her in danger, he had no time to explain. He ordered her to stay calm. Relief washed over her as he approached. She waited like a frightened kitten. Don't make a sound, no matter what happens, he warned, his eyes glowing. He gripped her hand with his demonized arm, absorbing the lethal, surging voltage. Knowing the room was about to explode, he threw her out into the open sky. Falling through the air, she remembered his warning and quickly silenced her own screams. A second later, Tintone lunged from the window and caught her midair. Safe in his arms, her heart fluttered wildly. She could only stare at her savior. With one powerful leap, his demon arm extended, grappling the roof of the next building. Realizing the volatile energy would kill her, Tintone immediately orders her to unleash the surge skyward. He directs the lightning away, desperate to escape the lethal shock of her awakening power. She obeys instantly, exhaling a catastrophic torrent of electricity that roars like 1,000 waterfalls. As the surge fades, Tintone stands amidst the smoke, watching his sister recover from the intense release. Regaining consciousness, Chinu's eyes fall upon Tintone's demonic arm, the mark of a true monster. Recalling how she protected him in their past life, he calmly reveals his cursed, demonized limb to her. He demonstrates his control, retracting the monstrous arm back to its human form before her very eyes. Terrified someone might overhear his monster confession, Chinu frantically covers his mouth to silence him. Stunned by her reaction, he listens as she warns him that being a monster is no boast. She explains that the world fears and hunts monsters. Even a hint of his nature means certain death. She begs him to lie, even to her, rather than risk exposure in this ruthless, judgmental society. Moved by her unwavering loyalty despite his dark nature, Tintone pulls her into a protective embrace. He whispers that she is the only soul in this world he will ever trust unconditionally. As they watch the stars, a crimson light descends a surveillance drone, hunting for signs of demonic activity. Scientists and a nurse arrive instantly, tracking the massive energy signature of the earlier lightning strike. The professor approaches the duo, demanding to know the source of the devastating electrical discharge. To shield her brother, Chinu steps forward, claiming the overwhelming power was hers alone. Tintone is shocked by her sacrifice. Despite his past neglect, she is now his ultimate protector. The professor, intrigued, orders the nurse to collect DNA samples from both for immediate genetic testing. He eyes Chinu suspiciously, wondering how she could release such power without incinerating her companion. The nurse begins the extraction while the professor questions Tintone's hidden, seemingly superhuman resilience. Chinu's blood sample hits the testing tube and reacts with a violent, unprecedented explosion of light. The professor gasps in pure shock as the readings skyrocket, shattering all previous genetic records. With a 95% superhuman gene count, she is officially labeled a once-in-a-century genius. Meanwhile, the nurse tests Tintone, her movements clumsy and inexperienced as she waits for a reaction. After a long silence, she scoffs, revealing his result is a pathetic, record-breaking low of 1%. She mocks his weakling status, having never seen such a useless superhuman gene count in her career. The professor, disappointed, orders them both to the research center for a final, comprehensive evaluation. Tintone is baffled by the result, suspecting the nurse's incompetence hidden his true demonic nature. They arrive at the 𝑻𝒉𝒆𝒚 Institute, where his status as the weakest in history is confirmed. Despite the 1% rating, the nurse can't help but admire his perfectly sculpted, godlike physique. Tintone realizes the truth. His half-demon body perfectly masks his true power as weak human genes. This weakling label is the perfect disguise to infiltrate the academy and plot his eventual domination. He asks Chinu if a 1% loser like him even qualifies for the prestigious superhuman academy. Eager to stay by his side, she encourages him, stating even 0.1% is enough to enter. As they register, the campus erupts in chaos over the news of the legendary 95% genius. Tintone watches the crowd, remembering his past life where his 99% monster genes brought despair. He follows the crowd to the testing chamber, where Chinu is about to face the ultimate trial. Spectators watch in awe as 500 volts of raw electricity course through her without causing harm. While the world cheers for the genius, Tintone remains in the shadows, an apex predator in hiding. The researchers, greedy for data, pushed the limits, cranking the voltage higher and higher into the danger zone. 600, 700. The intensity rises until they reach a lethal 1000 volts of pure lightning. Unfazed by the surge, Chi-Nu proved her 95% superhuman bloodline, a true heaven-sent genius. Amidst the whispers, Tintone watched from the shadows, a lone wolf sensing the coming storm. The power peaked at 1000 volts. The researchers were no longer testing. They were playing God. Tintone watched as onlookers stood paralyzed. Chi-Nu's overwhelming dominance left them utterly speechless. Is she even human? They whispered in terror. The experiment intensified as the voltage surged. 2000 volts pulsed through her body. Yet, Chi-Nu remained unfazed, absorbing the lethal energy effortlessly. She flashed a radiant smile amidst the sparks. Outside, Tintone's heart raced, desperate to reach her. "Stop! It's too dangerous," a researcher warned. Her body was currently a walking lightning storm. One touch would incinerate him instantly. Suddenly, two figures approached, radiating an aura of authority. The Academy Dean arrived, flanked by Tuyet Tin. The arrogant protector stood tall, oozing superior confidence. The Dean commanded entry, trusting his elite status. "A little spark won't harm me," he boasted. They entered the chamber, leaving Tintone behind. Tuyet Tin immediately aimed his sights on the girl. Seeing her beauty and raw power, Tuyet Tin grinned. He planned to claim her for his squad. Chi-Nu warned him of the lethal current, but the fire user scoffed, confident in his abilities. He ignited a flame, showcasing his elemental mastery. With a smirk, he reached out to her. He admired her flawless form with predatory eyes. He wondered if her skin was soft as silk. Tintone's blood boiled watching from the glass. Rage surged as that playboy approached his beloved. He wanted to crush the arrogant noble's face. How dare this genius flirt with his Chi-Nu? Chi-Nu pulled back, citing the residual electricity. She had no interest in his hollow, arrogant advances. As a high-ranking student, Tuyet Tin stayed patient. He believed no woman could resist his status. "Resources are allocated by team performance," he explained. "Only the strongest survive and thrive here. I am the Fan family's third young master. My 90% superhuman genes guarantee ultimate victory. Join my elite squad, Chi-Nu," he offered. "Together, we shall dominate every resource available." The offer was tempting, a path to absolute power. Chi-Nu paused, weighing her future goals. Yet, her heart already belonged to her monster. She coldly rejected the young master's invitation. Tuyet Tin sneered, knowing Tintone's pathetic level. A mere 1% rating was worth nothing. He ignored the protagonist with pure, elitist contempt. Chi-Nu, however, beamed as Tintone entered. "We'll be in the same squad," she cheered. Tuyet Tin's face twisted in humiliated, jealous fury. Sensing the tension, the dean stepped in quickly. "We have urgent matters to discuss," he intervened. He dragged the fuming Tuyet Tin away immediately. But the young master's hatred had already grown. "Think carefully, Chi-Nu," he spat before leaving. The two conspirators retreated to a private office. Tuyet Tin raged about being passed over for a loser. He couldn't fathom her choice. The dean, a master of manipulation, smirked coldly. "Her heart is set. Logic doesn't apply here. But don't worry, I'll clear the path." He reached for the phone to strike from shadows. He ordered the admissions office to scrap Tintone's records. Even with qualifying grades, he was doomed. The registrar trembled and obeyed the corrupt command. With one call, Tintone's future was erased. "See? A single minute to crush a nobody's dreams." The dean chuckled, teaching his nephew malice. Tuyet Tin marveled at his uncle's ruthless, efficient cruelty. The thorn in his side was removed. Unaware, the two walked back to the dorms. Chi-Nu gazed at his demonic, sealed arm. She knew his dark secret, the monster's hunger. Yet, she looked at him with unwavering devotion. "The world is full of evil men," she whispered. "Feeding on them is simply justice, right?" Tintone was stunned by her chilling, absolute loyalty. Even as a monster, he found solace. A knock interrupted them, the nurse from clinic. Her parents had arrived to finalize her enrollment. Joy flooded her face at the prospect of starting. She laughed, picturing their lives together. Seeing his hesitation, she offered a comforting smile. "My parents will handle your registration too." Being with him was her only true happiness. She skipped away to meet them, full of hope. Once she left, the nurse's expression turned grimly somber. A dark cloud hung over the corridor. "I'm sorry, Tintone," she whispered heavily. "The Academy has officially rejected your entire application." Rejected? They claimed his superhuman genes were a measly 1%. no better than a commoner. Hearing the news, Tintone's face paled. Wasn't having the gene enough to qualify for enrollment? The Academy's unfair standards were infuriating. His senior sister slammed her fist down in pure, unadulterated rage. This is blatant discrimination. She cursed the evaluators, her anger radiating like a physical pressure. Despite her fury, she looked stunning. Tintone wondered why she was more upset than he was. This woman was truly a mystery. She stood up again, hurling insults at the head of admissions. How dare they reject such a handsome talent? She swore to make them pay for their stupidity. Though they'd just met, her protection warmed his heart. But little did she know, his power was monstrous. To reach the apex, he needed the Southern Moon Academy's resources. He wouldn't let this opportunity slip away. Just as he prepared to leave, a phone rang. It was the senior sister's superior calling with news. One last chance. An exhibition match to prove his worth. Tintone's eyes instantly transformed into cold daggers. His aura shifted. He was determined to show them exactly what that 1% was capable of doing. Meanwhile, the rival 𝑻𝒉𝒆𝒚 was seething with jealousy. He unleashed his fire arts in a blind rage. His eyes burned with murderous intent. He looked ready to devour anyone who dared stand in his way. Seeking a target for his fury, he incinerated nearby moths. His uncle, the dean, watched the display. The dean offered him a drink, explaining that Tintone was backed by a high official, 𝒉𝒆𝒏𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓. The official hated their corruption. If Tintone passed, it would be a humiliating slap to the dean's face. If the brat succeeds, my authority is gone. But even if he fails, the official will protect him. 𝒉𝒆𝒏𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓 wouldn't accept defeat. He whispered a dark plan to ensure the boy never passed the trial. We must sabotage him. If he survives, the fan family's reputation will be dragged through the filth. The dean remained calm. With only 1% gene synchronization, the boy was nothing but a hopeless insect. A mere commoner cannot touch our world. 5 days later, the day of final judgment finally arrived. In the control room, observers watched the recruits. Tintone appeared, looking like a literal walking corpse. Starvation had left him gaunt and hollowed out. The supervisor scoffed at the pathetic sight on the screen. What idiot let this weakling in? He can barely walk, let alone fight monsters. He's just live bait. The dean ordered him to make things difficult, but seeing Tintone's state, he laughed. No effort required. Back at the gathering point, Tintone's energy was zero. A primal hunger began to consume his mind. He looked at the other students, his predatory instincts flaring. They looked like nothing more than succulent snacks, fresh meat everywhere. The proctor arrived to announce the rules of this 3-hour descent into hell. 3 rounds of life or death combat. The research institute had squeezed in 1 extra participant today, the other students whispered, searching for the newcomer. Then they saw him, the skeletal, fragile boy standing alone. He looked like a defenseless old man. Every student hoped to draw him as their opponent for victory. Tintone drooled, barely containing the beast within. He suppressed his inner demon and entered the chamber. Sensing the hostile stares, Tintone knew this was a setup. Someone wanted him dead immediately, but as the protagonist, he feared nothing. He reached for the door, unfazed by the obvious trap. He noticed fresh, superhuman blood on the handle, a scent designed to drive the monsters into a killing frenzy. A blatant assassination attempt. Yet, he walked straight in. He wasn't about to back down from this challenge. The door slammed shut. The guard sneered, thinking Tintone was a dead man for crossing them. Every beast in the facility is coming for you. And purely by coincidence, your room's locks are broken. The alloy door was sabotaged. 3 monsters, 5 times stronger than any human, were unleashed to kill. Iron-skinned predators hungry for flesh. They would shred him into nothing but a bloody memory in seconds. Your only hope is the escape hatch behind you. Run now, and you might just keep your life. The guard turned to leave, leaving Tintone to his fate. But the boy's voice stopped him cold. If I get out, you're the first one I'll devour. The guard scoffed, blinded by his own arrogance. 1% gene or not, the trap was set. Now, the world would witness the birth of a monster. They shoved him into the observation room. To the professor, his only path was total surrender. He's paralyzed with fear, the professor smirked, savoring a victory he thought was already his. The trial began. The monsters were about to be unleashed directly into the boy's cramped chamber. 10 seconds, the professor wagered. I bet 100 million he quits within the first 5. The massive iron gates creaked open. Behind them lurked a tide of ravenous, starving predators. The moment the gap appeared, they lunged forward, desperate to tear human flesh from bone. The observers counted every second, waiting for his scream. But he didn't hide in the shadows. He kicked the door open and charged. The men froze. Was this kid insane or just suicidal? Seeing prey deliver itself, 3 monsters pounced, but he met their fury with chilling indifference. He stepped forward as if facing kittens, not killers. Suddenly, the beasts stopped and turned away. They ignored him completely. He realized his monster blood made them recognize him as one of their own. "Why are they walking past him?" the professor screamed, his face contorted in utter disbelief. He stammered for an excuse. Maybe the blood on the door masked his scent? He's a nobody. He dismissed it as pure luck, unaware of the terrifying monster dwelling within the boy's soul. He claimed the victory token without breaking a sweat. The professor's pride was beginning to crumble. "The next round won't be so easy," he growled. "The real show is only just beginning." As he reached for the token, a cocky student ambushed him. "Hand it over, you old man." The bully sneered at his frail look. "Go rot in a nursing home. You've picked the wrong fight." Annoyed by the barking, the boy gave a deathly glare. "Come and take it if you dare." He unleashed a flicker of his demonic aura. The bully froze, drenched in a cold, primal terror. Realizing this was no ordinary human, the bully backed away, his nose bleeding from sheer pressure. To him, the boy looked like a god of death. Meanwhile, the monsters caught a fresh scent. Their hunger reignited. 2 beasts lunged at the duo, claws out and ready for the kill. The bully trembled, paralyzed by fear. He couldn't understand why the boy wasn't running for his life. With monster blood coursing through him, he felt no fear. He stood still, welcoming the carnage. "Try it," he thought with a dark smirk. "Show me what you've got before I end you." But the beast inside him was starving. Before they could strike, his left hand twitched with hunger. He couldn't transform fully, so he manifested a fanged, hidden mouth within his own palm. In one swift motion, he tore a massive chunk of flesh out of the lead monster. The other beast froze. It couldn't comprehend why its own kind was suddenly feeding on it. The taste of blood sent a wave of euphoria through him. His expression turned hauntingly satisfied. The monsters retaliated in a blind rage, but his predatory eyes saw every move before they struck. "We're all brothers here," he whispered mockingly. "I'm just taking my share to stay alive." The cowardly student watched in horror. He knew if the boy fell, he was the next meal. He was shaking with anxiety, while on the other side, a silent massacre was unfolding beautifully. The boy moved with lethal grace. A single touch sent the monsters reeling in agonizing pain. Another beast charged with desperate fury. But against a true king, these runts were nothing. He danced through the gore, his power overwhelming. The bully's mind was completely shattered by the sight. "Only 1% superhuman genes," he gasped. "The results must be a lie. This is impossible." He could have ended it in a second. But his inner demon demanded a feast, not victory. He toyed with them, letting the mouth in his palm shred their flesh piece by piece. He dragged out the fight, feeding the beast within until it was finally satiated with blood. The blue-haired student watching was speechless. Where did this absolute monster come from? He's far too powerful for this place, he realized. Someone definitely rigged his entrance exam. In the monitoring room, the professor stared in shock. How could a failure unleash such devastation? The professor watched with a sinister grin. The real show hasn't even started. Tinton secured the ticket. The seniors circled him like greedy vultures. Their leader, Truthin, demanded the prize. He had no idea who he faced. Ngoan trembled, sensing Tinton's hidden power. This wasn't a normal human. He warned his friend to back off. But Truthin's ego was too massive. "Do you know who I am?" the senior mocked. "Give it up or die." Suddenly, a blood-soaked beast lunged. The air turned cold with killing intent. Thin sent his muscle-bound lackey to handle it. A fatal mistake of arrogance. The bald youth charged, oozing confidence. He thought he was the main character. "That kid killed 2? I'll crush 5, he boasted. Fueled by pure delusion, he stood his ground as the monster struck, a wall of pride against death. Instead of dodging, he tried to block. He thought he was invincible. A sickening snap echoed. His smug face twisted into a mask of agony. His arm broke like dry wood. Before he could scream, the beast struck again. A casual blow shattered his jaw. His pride vanished along with his teeth. He was sent flying like trash. His friends watched, paralyzed by absolute terror. "Useless weaklings," Truthin raged. "You call yourselves my elite warriors?" As he screamed, a shadow loomed behind him. Cold dread gripped his soul. A massive fist tore through the air. Tinton was moving for the kill. The main character hesitated, realizing the senior was too weak. "I might kill him." He tried to pull back, but the momentum was set. The strike landed. Truthin froze. He saw his life flash before his eyes in seconds. The impact was devastating. His eyes rolled back as he hit the ground. The surrounding goons gasped in horror. Their champion was down in one hit. Damn, did I overdo it? Tinton muttered, fearing a prison sentence. He checked for a pulse, praying the idiot was still breathing. Seeing him alive, Tinton tossed him aside. Who wants to be next? Come at me all at once, he challenged. The air crackled with power. The terrified lackeys fled, dragging their broken leader through the dirt. They realized only Tinton could save them from the rising shadows. Truthin begged, clinging to the main character's feet. Save us, I'll pay you. Tinton stared down coldly. He wasn't a hero, he was a predator. Fine. For the cash, I'll clean this mess, he agreed with chilling indifference. In the shadows, the professor sneered. Release more specimens. Kill them all. The gates groaned open. A new level of hell was being unleashed. A junior officer hesitated, worried about the massacre, but was quickly silenced. Pawns are replaceable, the professor hissed. Focus on the goal, not the lives. The lever dropped. 18 monsters surged out, starving for human blood. They swarmed the room like a nightmare. The first student was devoured instantly. It wasn't a test, it was an execution. 18 beasts against the weak. Do you want to join them? The professor threatened his trembling staff. The Fan family paid for results. Keep your mouth shut and watch. At the mention of a bribe, the assistant's fear turned into greed. Amidst the chaos, Tinton stood alone, a monster among monsters. He lunged forward, a whirlwind of destruction. The hunt had finally begun. With one effortless strike, his overwhelming power was undeniable. They praised him, knowing only he could save them. Penniless but grateful, they vowed to repay his kindness. His sister snapped, "We can't even afford makeup, brother." She bowed deeply, thanking him for saving their lives. Thin offered a drink, and even his sister's hand. Suddenly, Tinton sensed a lethal, predatory threat approaching. A massive, starving beast suddenly crashed through the walls. This monster was far deadlier. It was run or die. The wounded Thin shoved them aside and fled desperately. Dozens of monsters emerged, completely surrounding the terrified group. His sister wailed as the beast pinned Thin down. Why were there so many? Had the rules changed? They swarmed from above, tightening the inescapable death trap. Tier 2 evolutions. Tinton suspected a dark conspiracy. Someone wanted him dead. The alpha grabbed Thin's leg. Panic erupted, but the sister refused to leave him. Cowards fled, abandoning the weak to the hungry shadows. Enraged, she charged at the beasts to save him. It was futile. A single impact sent her flying. Sobbing, she whispered a final apology to her parents. Tinton blurred in, snatching her from death's door. If you die, die with a hero, he joked. Stay back. I'll handle these pathetic mongrels myself. He tossed her to 𝑻𝒂𝒏𝒄 for safekeeping. They collided and tumbled into a clumsy, tangled heap. Too many monsters. Tinton finally entered combat mode. He charged alone into the swarm to rescue Thin. Tears fell as she watched her mysterious, powerful savior. His demonic aura made the beasts ignore him completely. Eating without an invite? Tinton's left fist glowed. A devastating punch forced the beast to release Thin. Seeing Thin alive, he hurled him toward the others. Now focused, he prepared for a total monster massacre. Thin gasped, shocked that Tinton had saved him. He tumbled hard, groaning in sharp, physical agony. Tuodao rushed over, praising their incredible common savior. Just marry him. That'll clear our massive debt, sister. I'm only 17, she yelled, hitting her shameless brother. Run now, it's too dangerous to stay here. Desperate students fought tooth and nail for the tickets. They retreated to a quiet room to recover strength. Unshackled, Tinton became a graceful whirlwind of death. He held back his demon form to avoid cameras. He dismantled them while skillfully dodging the hidden surveillance. Suddenly, the ceiling groaned. This wasn't a trial, it was a cold-blooded execution disguised as a test. Total darkness fell. A waterfall of nightmares descended as monsters flooded the arena, craving human flesh. Foolish students scrambled for worthless tickets, blind to the slaughter breathing down their necks. Hope turned to horror as they became prey. One boy clutched his ticket, surrounded by a hungry horde. Where did these devils come from? Little did they know, a traitor had plunged them into hell. For gold and lust, that coward sacrificed hundreds. A massacre born from one man's petty greed. He smirked, blaming the director for his sins. But Tinton's eyes locked onto his wretched soul. Safe behind glass, the traitor sneered. Tinton's gaze was cold, marking him for a painful death. What can you do from down there? The coward mocked, flipping him off with a disgusting grin. He boasted of the 10 million he'd spend while others died. A true bottom feeder celebrating his betrayal. In a blur of violence, Tinton ripped a monster's limb and hurled it like a spear. The glass held, and the coward laughed. He believed he was untouchable behind his bulletproof shield. Then, an invisible force shattered reality. He was dragged through the glass into the mouth of hell. The monsters greeted their new meal with open jaws. Far off, Tin-Ton stood amidst the carnage. "Your time is up," Tin-Ton whispered. He moved like a reaper, harvesting souls with calm indifference. He watched the traitors' screams get drowned by tearing flesh. Justice was served in a crimson spray. The loudmouth was nothing but a weakling. Within seconds, the monsters began their gruesome feast. Consuming superhuman flesh triggered an evolution. The beasts grew stronger, their forms twisting into nightmare shapes. Scales and tails emerged. The hunters had become apex predators, seeking the last survivors in the dark. The weak were gone. Only one remained. A man, beast hybrid who was far too dangerous to swallow. The alpha monsters sensed his threat. They commanded their swarm to overwhelm this solitary, dark presence. Even elite warriors would tremble at this tide. Tin-Ton stood alone against an army of death. A corrupt professor watched, certain of the boy's end. He was already planning his victory party. To ensure Tin-Ton's death, the old snake destroyed the final exit. No hope, no escape. He then staged a scene, waking his guards to hide his treacherous sabotage of the facility. "Wake up, losers!" he roared, acting outraged to cover the tracks of his own deadly betrayal. He screamed about the cameras and the blackout, a masterclass in deception while innocent blood spilled. The confused guards begged for mercy, unaware their master was the one who struck them down. While they fumbled to restore the feed, Tin-Ton realized the blind spot was his perfect stage. He unzipped the restraint on his left arm. The demon inside was screaming to be unleashed. As the swarm closed in, the transformation began. Finally, he could kill without holding back his rage. With the demon lord's strength, he became a whirlwind of death. Limbs flew. The arena became a tomb. Every kill fed his hunger. Tin-Ton's eyes glowed with an unholy light as he sought bigger prey. He hunted the alphas, absorbing the superhuman genes they stole. Their power now belonged to him. His arm pulsed with divine corruption. He was evolving into something the world should truly fear. Pain flared. He collapsed, clutching his head as the monster within tried to consume his mind. He fought for control. Nearby, survivors crawled out, terrified by the demonic aura radiating from him. Instead of gratitude, they felt fear. They moved to kill the monster who had just saved them. Truthin tried to protect him, but the ungrateful cowards kicked the wounded man aside like trash. "He didn't save us. He's just a freak showing off." Their jealousy turned into a lethal weapon. They cornered the exhausted hero. "Hand over the tickets, monster, or we'll finish you right here." They looked at their savior with murderous eyes, forgetting who kept them alive in this nightmare. Battered and broken, Zhao Sheng faced those bastards. Even at death's door, his monstrous aura began to stir. He demanded his sister lead him toward Jing Kun. Wu Yin trembled, sensing the suicidal madness in him. From afar, the coward begged him to stop. Zhao Sheng merely silenced him with a cold, predatory glare. Tin-Ton refuses to yield. The blonde delinquent loses his cool and lunges with murderous intent. His smug grin doesn't last 2 seconds. A massive, serpent-like beast erupts from the earth. It devours him instantly. His friend freezes, paralyzed by the sight of this absolute nightmare. This is no hallucination. It is the Earth Dragon, a creature of pure, cold-blooded malice. Once marked by its gaze, death is certain. Freshly fed, the beast is far from satisfied. It bears rows of razor-sharp fangs, letting out a roar that shatters the very air. The shockwave sends everyone into unconsciousness. The thief's face turns ghostly pale with terror. This monster is an undefeated legend. Most only dream of fleeing from its overwhelming presence. Trapped in this sealed room, there is nowhere to run. Despair begins to take root. Trembling, the youth regrets everything. Suddenly, the Earth Dragon lunges for its next meal. It swallows him whole. Now, its predatory eyes turn toward our protagonist, Tin-Ton. A single tail swipe slams him into the wall. Through the dust, the beast charges again. Death isn't an option. Tin-Ton braces his entire body, refusing to be crushed here. Though he carries the Demon King's blood, his power is still in its fragile infancy. The dragon's jaws snap shut. Tin-Ton's demonic arm is nearly shredded to pieces. He refuses to be fodder. He surrenders more control to the inner demon's dark rage. Outside, parents grow anxious as the silence stretches. They pray for their children's safety. Chinu waits for her lover, but her heart sinks as time passes without him. Sensing an anomaly with her lightning affinity, she demands answers from the facility guards. Chaos erupts as the dragon's shriek reaches the surface, striking terror into everyone's hearts. Bodies collapse from the pressure. Chinu knows something catastrophic is happening inside. Seizing the moment of confusion, she sprints past the dazed guards into the facility. Familiar with the layout, she reaches the training grounds in a matter of seconds. The technicians are panicked, unable to restore power. The darkness is absolute until she arrives. Chinu blasts through the doors. The captain snarls, demanding to know who this brat is. I am a student with 95% super genes. And my element is lightning. She offers to jumpstart the system. But the captain sees only a meddling little girl. Go home, kid. High voltage is no place for children to be playing around. With eyes blazing, she refuses to back down. Her lover's life hangs in the balance. Sparks ignite as she unleashes a surge of electricity, illuminating the entire room with power. One touch sends the captain reeling from the shock. He finally realizes she's a monster. She can fix the power, but there's a catch. The emergency exits would also unlock. Fearing the beast would escape, the captain forbids her from touching the control panel. Eliminate her, he barks. Don't let this girl ruin the safety of this city. Guns are drawn on her. Meanwhile, Tintone's struggle against the dragon turns bloody. Even with his demon form active, the legendary beast remains an overwhelming wall of scales. Another bite punctures his arm, the dragon's sheer force tearing through flesh and bone. He underestimated its power. In his past life, they were allies, never its mortal enemy, but the meat he absorbed earlier wasn't for nothing. He has a hidden energy reserve. His demonic arm begins to knit together, regenerating at a terrifying, unnatural speed. Tanking the beast is impossible. He dances on the edge of death, seeking an opening. There, a weak spot on its belly. He fires a demonic tether to swing beneath. To grow stronger, he must devour it. Tintone prepares to claim the dragon's power. He channels his energy for a blow, but the dragon's head snaps back toward him. With no room to retreat, Tintone gambles his soul on this final, desperate strike. Chinu fights desperately to reach Tintone while he battles for survival inside. The captain orders fire, but Chinu unleashes a massive electromagnetic field. Bullets deflect. Even she is stunned by this newfound, godlike power. She strips the guards of their weapons with a single wave of her hand. Open the gate now, she roars. The heavy doors groan open into total chaos. Inside, a nightmare awaits. A colossal earth dragon towers over the ruins. Despite the terror, her eyes search only for Tintone amidst the carnage. Tintone is being shredded, but the Demon King's blood heals him instantly. He seizes his chance, tearing a chunk of flesh from the beast to evolve. Tintone rushes to Chinu's side as she collapses from exhaustion. The professor watches from above, plotting to use this chaos for profit. Shield the students. The professor fakes heroism while secretly targeting our hero. He smirks, certain that no human can survive this monstrous encounter. Tintone struggles to flee while shielding Chinu from the dragon's wrath. Suddenly, his arm erupts. The dragon's flesh triggers a terrifying demonic mutation. A golden spear strikes, but Tintone catches it with his monstrous claws. The professor freezes. This isn't human power, it's something far more sinister. One arm holding his girl, the other unleashed, Tintone strikes back with fury. This isn't elemental magic. This is the forbidden mutation of a true monster. Die, monster, the professor screams, raining down golden spikes of death. Tintone tanks every blow to protect Chinu. His inhuman nature is revealed. His wounds vanish in seconds. He lunges at the professor like a vengeful god. A devastating blow narrowly misses. The professor trembles at this overwhelming strength. He regrets ever facing this beast. But for Tintone, the hunt has begun. Tintone's eyes glow with malice as the world begins to fear his power. He is no longer human. He is the monster they all feared he'd become. The professor retreats in terror, realizing he has awakened a sleeping demon. With one arm mutated, Tintone stands as the ultimate predator of this world. No wall can hold him. No hero can stop his path to domination. The era of humans is ending. The reign of the Demon King begins now. Every strike from the professor only fuels Tintone's growing dark aura. Is that all? Tintone's voice echoes with a chilling, otherworldly resonance. The ground shatters under his feet as he prepares his final, crushing counterattack. Humanity labeled him a monster. Now he will show them what a monster can do. The 5 elements tremble before the primal force of his demonic evolution. Not even the strongest hunters can stand against this level of pure destruction. Death is too kind for those who tried to sacrifice him for their greed. The golden spikes shatter like glass against Tintone's indestructible demonic hide. A single punch sends shockwaves through the facility, signaling a new world order. The professor realizes too late he isn't the hunter, he is the prey. Darkness consumes the lab as Tintone unleashes his full, unbridled power. The world will burn, and from the ashes, he shall rule supreme. Run, Tinton whispers, but he knows there is nowhere left to hide. His revenge has just started, and it will be written in blood. The transformation is complete. The monster is finally home. Tinton's demon part devours the dragon's essence, his muscles bulging with raw, unnatural power. His physique reaches its peak before his skin begins to tear apart in excruciating agony. Jagged dragon fangs erupt from his flesh, transforming him into a terrifying, monstrous freak. Seizing the moment of pain, the professor uses alchemy to launch a massive gold strike. But Tinton has reached evolution stage 3. A simple flick shatters the gold shield. The resulting shockwave blasts the old man, leaving him broken and spitting up blood. Clutching his wounds, the professor can't believe an incomplete monster possesses such overwhelming strength. If he fully awakens, he'll be unstoppable. Yet the old man continues his desperate insults. He sneers that the world will hunt Tinton like the beast he has become. Trying to flee, the professor runs straight into a waking, and very angry, Chi-Nu. Hearing him insult her lover, she ignites a deadly electrical aura from her fingertips. She blasts the professor with lethal voltage, declaring Tinton is off-limits to everyone. She vows her love regardless of his form. The professor has no right to exist. Her lightning genius easily dominates the metal user, pinning him down for the final judgment. Dragged before Tinton, the main character raises his massive, blood-red demonic claw high. With a devastating blow, he crushes the greedy professor's face into the shattered floor. As the rubble settles, Tinton's energy wanes from the strain of his rapid evolution. His demon arm hungrily absorbs the professor's life force just as the purifiers arrive. Knowing they kill monsters on sight, Tinton realizes his very existence is now illegal. He tells Chi-Nu to flee, not wanting his monster status to ruin her life. But she defiantly clings to his terrifying, pulsating arm, refusing to let go for anything. She vows to follow him to hell itself because her love is absolute. Touched by her loyalty, Tinton finds hope amidst the chaos of his newfound power. He promises her a future if they escape. Meanwhile, the purifiers reach the Earth Dragon. The first squad is instantly slaughtered by the beast, a truly pathetic display of heroics. Guards fire relentlessly, but their bullets are like mere insects against the dragon's iron scales. The monster roars, revealing a terrifying maw lined with thousands of razor-sharp, jagged teeth. Its overwhelming aura causes the weak to collapse, their spirits broken by pure primal fear. Suddenly, a girl wielding a massive water vortex appears to stand against the legendary beast. Her hydrokinetic mastery is incredible, shielding the survivors from certain death in an instant. It is the 4-star elite Shangguan Koi, with a staggering 91% gene synchronization rate. The campus goddess freezes the dragon's movements, opening a path for the terrified civilians. She commands the crowd to flee and alert the secondary purifier units for backup. Once everyone is safe, the water warrior prepares to duel the dragon in a solo clash. Fearing discovery, Chi-Nu finds a secluded room to hide Tinton's monstrous transformation. Tinton hides inside while Chi-Nu rushes to distract the approaching security guards. Inside the shadows, his arm pulses with forbidden energy as bone spikes erupt painfully. Outside, the elite purifiers rescue every survivor in a record-breaking minute of efficiency. Chi-Nu grits her teeth. The rescue team arrived far too fast for her plan. Suddenly, a violent tremor rocks Tinton's room, sending a loud boom through the hall. Suspicion rises instantly. The warriors turn their weapons toward the room, sensing a monster. Despite her desperate lies, the purifiers move in cautiously to uncover the hidden threat. Her eyes flare with killing intent. If they find him, she will end them all. The door opens, and Tinton steps out, acting confused, his monster form perfectly hidden. He calmly calls for medical aid, playing the role of a survivor with chilling perfection. Tinton flexed his newly hardened muscles, admiring the raw power coursing through his evolving physique. His bones had mutated into the legendary Blacktooth Earth Dragon's form. Yet he hungered for more. Compared to the true beast, he felt fragile, unable to overturn the cruel fate of this world. He knew the truth. That dragon was merely a shadow of the nightmare lurking deep underground. Following a brief recovery and emotional reunions, the fateful day of academy enrollment finally arrived. At the gates, Tinton and Chi-Nu shared a moment, their ambitions burning for the trials ahead. They swore to seize every resource, vowing to ascend the peak and become truly untouchable. Their peace was interrupted by True Thin and the others, who approached with eyes full of reverence. They hailed him as their big brother, eternally grateful for his intervention in that living hell. The academy granted survivors a pass, but they knew their lives belonged to their savior now. They pledged absolute loyalty, vowing to serve as his blades and shields without a single regret. As they bowed in submission, Chi-Nu teased Tinton about his growing cult of male admirers. Tinton laughed, assuring her his heart wasn't swayed by steel. only by her side. Seeing the legendary beauty, True Thin hesitated, prompted by Tin Ton to officially meet his partner. "She is my lover, Chi Ngu," he declared, a name that sent shockwaves through the entire group. They stood frozen. Before them was the monster freshman who had already conquered the school forums. A genius with a 95% transcendent gene, a record-shattering anomaly in the history of the academy. Tin Ton signaled for silence, preferring to keep their overwhelming presence hidden from the public eye. They obeyed instantly, like loyal hounds, already joking about the wedding of this ultimate power couple. Tin Ton smirked, playfully teasing his sister while keeping his focus on the harsh road ahead. Ngoan proposed forming a specialized squad to dominate the upcoming resource war among the students. His mental sense could detect elite predators, allowing them to navigate the academy's dangerous hierarchy safely. They would no longer be victims of theft, but the ones who dictated the rules of survival. However, True Thin cut the dream short, warning that the weak were already being systematically targeted. "We can't drag Big Brother down," he urged, fearing the ruthless purge of low-ranked students. A monster with an 88% gene had already claimed the throne of the freshman class. This self-proclaimed king aimed to strip all resources from anyone considered trash by his standards. He targeted those with genes below 50%, viewing them as nothing more than stepping stones. With genes ranging from 39 to 50%, the trio knew they were marked for certain elimination. Despite the danger, their loyalty touched Tin Ton, who saw potential where others only saw weakness. Tin Ton and Chinu exchanged looks. These loyal followers were worth more than any high-tier gene. Chinu suggested that with proper grooming, these underdogs could become his most lethal hidden weapons. Tin Ton agreed, vowing to transform them into warriors feared by the entire world, not just school. Under his guidance, they would reach the pinnacle and crush anyone who dared block their path. He officially accepted the alliance, leaving True Thin stunned by his leader's immense magnanimity and vision. "Focus on your own growth," Thin urged, but Tin Ton's decision was as firm as mountainstone. He chose them for their spirit, igniting a flame of hope in their once shattered hearts and souls. Overwhelmed with emotion, the trio swore an oath of blood to follow him into any darkness. Exhausted but determined, the new squad headed to the dorms to prepare for the inevitable storm. The next morning, they faced Professor Fo Luong, a man whose cold eyes promised a brutal year. "Awaken or be expelled," he barked, declaring the academy a graveyard for those who stayed weak. He turned his gaze toward Ngoan, sensing a flickering spark of mental power within the boy. The hunt had begun, and Tin Ton's journey toward total domination was finally taking its first step. Those who fail to awaken will be purged. This academy is a hell where only the strong survive. In the final test, Wu Yin returned transformed. Had he finally mastered the mental art of perceiving death? With a measly 1% genetic score, the teacher sneered at the weaklings. True Thin laughed along, but the instructor's cold gaze cut through him. "You'll never awaken with such pathetic potential. Just quit now. Don't waste your parents' money." Tin Ton sat silently, wondering why the man only called specific elite names. True Thin whispered that the vice principal only acknowledges those with high supernatural gene percentages. Tin Ton stayed quiet. Being a 1%er was a mark of shame. Then, the teacher announced a record-breaking genius in class. Her name was Chi Nu, the highest genetic prodigy ever seen. But that wasn't the biggest shock today. What is truly bizarre is having a 1%er in this elite academy, the teacher announced with mockery. A 1%er is just a normal human. Stand up so everyone can see this joke of a student. The class erupted in whispers, searching for the loser. True Thin mocked the mysterious 1% student. "That guy will drop out in a week," Thin joked, but his jaw dropped as Tin Ton stood up. "Boss? You are the 1%er?" Thin cried. The teacher gasped. "How did a trash-tier gene even awaken?" "Fine then, Tin Ton. Come to the front and help me demonstrate the power you will never truly possess." Tin Ton walked down confidently, boldly asking for a reward if he succeeded. He stood before the instructor. The lesson began. Supernatural power stems from the elements: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and lightning. Awakening allows one to harness these forces. These elemental energies briefly reside within your awakened supernatural genes. The trick is to control your genes, to capture and store the elements from the outside world inside. To become truly powerful, you must turn your body into a perfect elemental battery, the teacher explained. If you can master this, you might actually amount to something, he added, eyeing the young student. He pulled a massive iron bar from his desk and crushed it like paper with his bare hands. He tossed a fragment to Tin Ton, sneering that he would only ever manage to move this tiny piece. Elite students like Thuong Quan Khoi can breathe underwater. Chinu can survive 3,000 volts of electricity. 100%er would be a living god. But you? You are at the bottom of the food chain. Low genes mean zero elemental affinity. Anyone under 20% has never awakened in human history. But as he spoke, the scrap of iron in Tintone's hand began to glow and transform into gold. The instructor froze in sheer disbelief. Alchemy? Without any training? Was the testing equipment broken again? He wondered if Tintone was a genius or just incredibly lucky. "Attack me," he commanded, testing the boy. He wanted to see the boy's true potential. "Use your genes and strike me with everything you have." A combat trial on day 1? The class was stunned. But Tintone looked at the teacher differently. From his past memories, he knew this man would eventually die protecting his students during a crisis. He was a true mentor who sacrificed himself so others could flee. Tintone felt a rare respect. The teacher was sweating, ready to go all out. But Tintone's devouring gene was far too lethal. With the hidden 99% monster power lurking within him, the instructor stood no chance at all. "I need to hold back," he thought. "If I show too much power, no one will dare challenge me." Tintone feigned a struggle and collapsed, letting the teacher claim a narrow victory in front of the class. Though he won, the teacher realized the boy had lost on purpose. What is he planning, he wondered. At least he knows how to show respect, the teacher thought, satisfied that his authority remained intact. The students cheered for their teacher. After helping Tintone up, he declared the first lesson over. "Now, prepare yourselves. The first resource competition for the new freshmen begins right now," he announced. A student in the front row glared at Tintone, a 1%er who actually awakened. "How annoying. I heard your big talk earlier," the boy sneered. "Where does a genetic failure get such confidence? He thinks he can steal our resources? How arrogant!" Then, the bully stepped forward to introduce himself. "I am Engu Hung, an 85%er of the water element. Join my squad, or get crushed. Only those above 60% deserve to lead. We will form an alliance of the truly strong." He approached Tintone with a fake smile, offering a hand while looking down on him. "Resources belong to the elite. Giving them to weaklings like you is a complete waste of potential." Tintone shrugged off the noise. "You're nothing but a bully who preys on the weak," a bitter voice spat. Seething with rage, the youth's eyes bulged. He turned to leave, snarling, "Who do you think you are, trash? You're just a failure with a 1% superhuman gene. You don't even have the right to be here. Don't act tough. You only passed because Chinu shielded you. Everyone knows you're just a pathetic parasite. I knew the truth all along. I only invited you so I could get closer to her." Seeing through the pathetic scheme, Tintone flashed a smug, mocking grin. "Your little plot is showing, kid." Roaring in fury, the boy made a final threat. "Just wait. Meet me at the gates if you're brave enough. The Strong Alliance will seize everything from weaklings like you. We'll strip you of every resource you possess." Facing these empty threats, Tintone remained unfazed, his smirk growing even wider. "Sure, kid. Whatever helps you sleep." Even the teacher stood by helplessly, too terrified to intervene. One wrong move and he'd be the next target. To avoid a face-breaking disaster, he quickly announced the start of the first-year resource war. Students rushed to claim their exchange tickets before heading into the dark forest for the official hunt. Once the tickets were distributed, the students vanished into the woods. Trio Thin gathered his sister and Tintone, but Ngoan hesitated. Fear of the unknown forest gripped him, so he nervously trailed far behind the group. He whispered to Trio Thin, "My gene is 49% and awakened. Maybe I should join the winners instead." Seeing the Alliance's power, he considered abandoning Tintone. Trio Thin simply told him to beat it. Ngoan stammered, "Tintone is strong, but he's only at 1%. The Alliance is massive and deadly." He couldn't believe Tintone had provoked the strongest faction right at the start of the trial. Seeing her brother's cowardice, Tu Dao told him to do as he pleased. Meanwhile, eyes watched Tintone. Mockery echoed from the shadows. 1% trash. You think you're safe? We've got our eyes on you. You can't run. Boss Hungbin is coming, and soon, you'll be begging for mercy on your knees. Knowing these punks were all bark and no bite, our protagonist smiled coldly. His response was devastatingly blunt. "Bring it on. I'll let my girl handle your pathetic hides." The provocation left them fuming but paralyzed. Elsewhere, the ruthless Hung Ao was already hunting, stripping the weak of their hard-earned reward tickets. One girl hid desperately, but his senses were sharp. He trapped her instantly with his lethal water manipulation. Goal achieved, he moved on. After crushing more trash, he crossed paths with the elite Tuyet Duyen. Recognizing the boy's powerful background, Hung Ao offered an alliance to solidify their dominance in the forest. But Tuyet Duyen wasn't just rich, He was a monster. He didn't play well with others, especially subordinates. An alliance? He sneered. His power flared instantly, a terrifying display of pure, unbridled fire energy. There are no allies here, only masters and dogs. The loser bows his head and obeys my command. As a fellow young master, 𝒉𝒈's pride snapped. He unleashed a massive tidal wave against the fire user. It was water versus fire. But 𝒉𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅 had been trained for war since birth, mastering every flame. With chilling precision, his fire consumed the water, completely suppressing 𝒉𝒈's desperate, surging torrents. Meanwhile, the forest echoed with the screams of the weak being robbed. They cursed the predators in vain. They swore that once they awakened, they would pay back this humiliation 1,000 times over. Only Tinton's squad remained untouched. The scavengers knew they were dangerous and waited for their leader. They surrounded the group, mocking Tinton for hiding behind a woman like a spineless coward. Chinu's eyes flashed with lightning. Her aura crackled with blue electricity, ready to incinerate the thugs. Fearing her discharge, the leader lunged forward to strike her down before she could fully charge. But Tinton moved faster. With one hand, he caught the punch and slammed the bully into the dirt. The shock was instant. The bully broke into a cold sweat, realizing Tinton's strength was beyond human. As Chinu peeked, Tinton whispered, "Go easy, dear. We need them to keep gathering resources for us." The blonde bully was sent reeling, his vision blurring. His comrades rushed in, hoping to save him. They met the same fate. With zero effort, Tinton's grip tightened around their throats, crushing their pride. The bullies who once preyed on others now felt the terror of a true monster's overwhelming power. Chinu's lightning crackled, leaving the cowards begging for death's sweet embrace. Their squad charged blindly, but the lightning goddess didn't spare them a glance. Her true prey was 𝒉𝒈, the leader of these pathetic scavengers. Tinton spoke to the weak, those discarded by this world's cruel system. "Do not fear their threats. I shall become your sword of vengeance. I'll reclaim your stolen future and reset the scales of power today." Terrified of the main character's aura, the unawakened fled like cornered rats. Chinu's lightning arced, paralyzing the crowd before they reached the dark forest. The monsters ahead were a death sentence they were not ready to face. Elsewhere, the arrogant 𝒉𝒈 fell before 𝒉𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅's hellish awakened flames. Dominance was absolute. 𝒉𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅 prepared a final, devastating lesson for the weak. A flame-clad fist struck 𝒉𝒈, testing his worth as a mere slave. Despite a desperate defense, the absolute inferno consumed the boy's entire being. The power gap was vast. 𝒉𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅 calmly awaited his opponent's total submission. With his spirit broken, the fire finally retracted from the fallen, gasping warrior. "You survived. Now, you and your alliance belong to me as loyal hounds." Helpless and humiliated, 𝒉𝒈 could only swallow his own boiling, silent rage. "As a 3-star superhuman, my power transcends this academy's pathetic little limits. Be grateful your water element kept you from being reduced to black ash. I returned only to harvest elite talents for the great fan family's glory. We offer true equality to those with the strength to seize it here. In this cruel world, do you desire the path to legendary godhood?" 𝒉𝒈 reached for the hand of fate, blinded by these false promises. Suddenly, Chinu's lightning struck him down like a bolt of divine judgment. He realized with horror the girl he once adored had become a literal monster. Her evolution was impossible, a terrifying surge of raw and untamed ancient power. Cooked by fire and paralyzed by bolts, he lay there trembling in agony. The main character's party arrived to reclaim every resource the scavengers had stolen. Tinton stood tall, greeting the noble heir with an icy, calm composure. 𝒉𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅 tried to charm Chinu with empty promises of luxury and status, but her heart belonged to the protagonist. She didn't spare the noble a glance. Enraged by this rejection, the noble unleashed his smoldering, jealous fury at last. A devastating wave of fire roared toward Tinton's position with lethal intent. "Stand back, my love. I will handle this arrogant insect by myself now." With a golden strike, the main character punched through the heart of the inferno. Thinking the main character was dead, the noble's triumph was very short-lived. A cold chill gripped his spine as Tinton suddenly appeared behind him. "Tell me, young master, are you afraid of being touched by a commoner?" Panic set in. 𝒉𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅 launched his most lethal, bone-crushing fire technique. The flames split apart, creating a deadly trap for the unsuspecting main character. The trap closed. Tinton was swallowed by a massive vortex of fire. 𝒉𝒈 watched in awe, witnessing the true terror of a noble's power. But the smoke cleared. The monster had escaped the blaze completely unharmed. Tinton lunged forward, his presence more suffocating than the intense heat. The real battle begins. 𝒉𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅 finally unleashes his ultimate, thousand-hand form. Inferno erupted. Our protagonist sensed the rival's sudden surge in destructive power. Yet, against a body of absolute steel, such attacks were mere child's play. Gripping a metal shard, he sliced the flames and shattered the ultimate technique. The rival stood frozen, unable to believe his strongest strike was neutralized. 1% superhuman genes. Yet such godlike power? Suddenly, Jing-kun arrived. Realizing the power came from that metal fragment, the enemy schemed to steal it. Before he could act, Jing-kun faked an injury, howling in theatrical pain. The rival stared in confusion. Had this guy finally lost his damn mind? The trial ended. Jing-kun's team had plundered every ticket from the elites. The Golden Squad stood salty and defeated, while our MC's crew celebrated. 78 tickets secured. The instructor turned to the arrogant young heir next. The noble was certain he still held one last card in his pocket, but the pocket was empty. Jing-kun smirked. "Looking for this, young master? I found this resource ticket after you defeated me earlier," he teased mockingly. He tossed it back. The wealthy heir, fueled by pride, simply walked away. Coldly, he vowed to return, kill Jing-kun, and reclaim his lost woman. Though they were just cheerleaders, Jing-kun rewarded his loyal followers generously. Tears flowed. They knew they had finally followed the right legendary king. Xiao Dao watched, wondering why the monster spared such a dangerous rival. "He's a noble," Jing-kun explained. "Resources are enough. No unnecessary wars yet." To amplify his power, the duo retreated to their dorm to consume spoils. As they prepared, Jing-kun revealed the dark secrets of superhuman biological research. Humans cannot create divinity, so they refine the essence of fallen prehistoric beasts. This life essence replaces elemental energy, fueling the awakening of the chosen. It sounded like cannibalism to her, a bitter, soul-chilling way to gain strength. One dose daily, combined with natural recovery, yields the ultimate physical evolution. "Don't hold back," he whispered. "Use everything to reach the first star rank." Jing-kun leaned in, his face inches from hers, radiating an overwhelming intensity. Her heart hammered. Was her first kiss finally about to happen right now? Since his 18th birthday, he had transformed into a completely different man. The playboy was gone. Every other girl's contact had been erased forever. Was this change good or bad? The mystery was becoming dangerously addictive. Expecting a kiss, she only heard him whisper, "Now, shock me with lightning." He pinched her cheek playfully, leaving her pouting and frustrated by the tease. But he wasn't done. He pinned her against the wall, eyes burning bright. He lowered her to the ground. She obeyed like a submissive, loyal kitten. To be claimed by the man she adored, she was ready for everything. Jing-kun began to savor her scent, intoxicated by her pure, floral aroma. But as he moved for her lips, the beast inside him suddenly awoke. Eyes turned predatory. A monstrous hunger surfaced, threatening to devour her whole. Realizing the monster had control, she blasted him with a surge of electricity. The creature retreated into the shadows. The romantic moment was utterly ruined. Sensing the beast's insatiable hunger, Jing-kun prepared to hunt for human prey. He bid her goodnight, but she handed him a mask to hide his darkness. Their eyes met a silent promise shared between a monster and his only light. Jing-kun walked into the darkness alone. His sister watched in sorrow as her brother became a stranger. Will his path of vengeance consume them both? Join us for the next chapter. For now, we part. Farewell, fellow hunters.